everyone, and welcome, and on this video I'll be showing you how to turn this pile of wool from this into this. This colourful dragon is based on a Dragonache from creature collecting game Viva Pinata. In the past I've made several Dragonache in different colours and using different techniques. For this video I'm going to use some new techniques to see if I can make one more quickly and easily. For the base I'll use this polystyrene egg and put a wooden dowel in the top to give the neck some more strength. For the head's base I'll use this fake snowball decoration that you can usually get in shops around Christmas time and cover it in wool. And I can use this multi-needle tool to quickly felt the top of the head together. I will do the jaw separately as it's more easier to make that way. I will now felt the top of the head and the jaw together around the back. And now I will also start shaping the Dragonache's head. I can now compare the dowel to the head and trim off the excess piece of the dowel. I'll put a small amount of glue onto the dowel just to hold the head in place better and just pop the head on top. I'll add the wool for the neck later. For the tail I've taken a piece of copper wiring and folded it in half. I've also got a pipe cleaner to twist around, and this will give the wool some extra grip around the tail. Then just twist the wire and the pipe cleaner together, and this will give the tail some added strength. I'll then use some pliers to bring the wires together so it holds more firmly, and then add this rubber-like glue onto the tail so I can still bend it, and then just wrap and felt the wool into place around the tail. With the tail complete, I'll now add some wool to the end. This is so then we can make the decoration at the end of his tail. I'll put a round piece of wool on the end of his tail on one side, flip it over, put some more glue on to hold the tail firmly into place, and then pop another round piece of wool on top of that. I'll now take my felting tool and felt the wool into a nice flat round disc shape. Simply add more wool if you think the tail needs bulking up a bit. Just keep felting the wool until you're happy with the shape of the tail. We'll now take the base and use this tool to poke a hole into the bottom of the polystyrene egg, making sure it's central with the head. Then just simply add some glue into the hole and pop the tail into place. With the glue dried, the tail should be nice and firm onto the body. We can now start shaping the body. To make the wool firm around the body, I'll use this tool which has 2 long needles and 5 short ones. This helps to really press the wool together. For shaping I'll use this 3 needle tool. With the body now done, just simply cover it in the colour that you'd like your Dragonache to be, and we'll now move on to the legs. Take some core wool and make them into little sausage shapes. Keep one end unfelted. then use 2 shades of yellow to cover the core wool up in. For the band around each leg, I'll just take a strip of pink wool, wrap it round the leg, and then just felt it into place. Keep poking the leg until it's nice and firm, and now we just need to make 9 more of these. When you're happy with the shape of the body, we can now move on to make the bands around the main body. I'll use some light yellow for the thin bands, a light shade of green for the first thick band, and a darker shade of green for the second thick band. We'll then just make some bands up the tail as well. With the bands completed around the main body, I'm now going to make the face. I'm now going to cover the inside of his mouth with some pink wool. I found it easiest to felt the wool into the shape of the mouth before actually felting it into the mouth. This is to stop the wool from sinking into the wool underneath. I'll now felt him a tongue. Keep one end unfelted. This is so then the wool will felt easier into the back of the mouth. Keep felting the mouth until you're happy with the shape of it, and we'll now move on to the patterns around the main body. Take a small strip of wool and roll it between your fingers, then it makes sort of a rectangle shape. I'll then take a light 40 gauge needle to felt and shape the rectangle into place. Then just keep felting pink rectangles onto the yellow band all the way around the body. I've now twisted some yellow wool into thin strips. This is to make the square zigzag pattern around the body. I've used sewing pins to keep the corners of the wool into place. This is so then I can rearrange the wool if the pattern doesn't turn out quite right when it's finished. If I run out of my line of wool, I'll just simply twist another line onto the end and then just continue as normal. So as you can see, one square line hasn't turned out quite right. I can just simply remove the pins and then rearrange the line of wool into the shape that I want it in. I can now felt the line of wool into place and just remove the pins as I go along. So here is the 2 main patterns completed around the main body. Now I've just got to do it for the rest of the body, which is going to take some time. Welcome back. So here are the patterns now completed around the main body. I've also done similar patterns up the tail as well. So now we'll complete the head. Take some pink strips for the top of the head. I hold them into place using sewing pins, so then I can rearrange the strips before I felt them into place. For the eyes, roll up a green ball of wool and then flatten it and shape it into a disc shape. Felt around the edges of the disc to make it nice and round. Then felt the disc onto the side of the face. You'll also need to make a smaller disc for the second eye next to it. Take a smaller piece of white wool and felt it into a disc shape just like the green. Do the same with the other colours of wool required to build up the eye. Be careful when felting thin shapes. The wool underneath the shape can get stuck to the surface of your felting board. Position the eye until you're happy with it on the side of the Dragonash's face. Then just felt it into place on top of the green disc you felted on earlier. With the eyes completed, we now just need to do some dentistry work, which is making the teeth. We need 3 teeth on each side. Compare each tooth to the side of the mouth, so then you can easily shape your tooth into the size that you want it. As with the tongue, keep one side unfelted, pin into place, and then just simply felt onto the side of the mouth. Add some pink wool to the roof of the mouth. This covers up the white and holds the teeth in place. Add more yellow around the outside of the mouth if required. Now I'll make a disc shape similar to how I made the eyes and make the pattern on the top of the tail. You'll need 6 little balls of wool to place around the circle on the tail. You'll also need to make sure that these are all evenly spaced out. Then add some pink wool on top of the yellow circle. You'll also need to do the same pattern for underneath the tail. And that's the main body finished. The next part, which is his decorative scales and wings, are the most fiddliest. I'll start by making his frilly headdress around the head here. I also still need to add on the front legs, make the scales down the back and the wings, and add some scales here on the end of the tail. Using some tracing paper, I've traced out the scales that I'll need for the head. On firm sheets of felt, I'll then trace out 7 large scales, 2 medium scales, and 3 small scales. I'm keeping the shapes close together, this way I don't waste any of the felt sheet. So these 7 large pieces are going to be used for the decoration around the top of the head. I'll then wrap a lighter shade of green wool around each scale. And then use a very fine gauged needle to felt the wool into place. The tip of each scale can be a little fiddly to felt into place, as you need to wrap them around specially. Then just wrap around a band of pink wool around each scale. Then add 3 strips of yellow wool on top of the pink wool. I gently felt the yellow wool in at an angle. This stops the yellow wool from seeping onto the other side. Then I'll gently add some yellow wool above the pink wool. Then gently do the same pattern on the other side. So here's all the head scales now complete. The bottom 3 I don't bother with the other side, and now I think I'm going to go off for a break for a bit. So now I'm working on the tail scales. Thankfully I only need to make 5 of these, and they don't take as long as there's no intricate pattern on them. I just simply need to felt green, pink and yellow wool around each scale. So I'm now working on the small scales that run down the back. These are made exactly the same as the tail scales, just a little more fiddly because they're smaller. So now I'm using the stiff felt sheets to cut out a base for the wings. So just to compare a finished wing with a half finished one, to shape the wing I've built it up in layers of wool. The inner wings are slightly bigger than the outer wings and has an extra layer of darker yellow wool around the bottom of the wing. Then just wrap the extra colours around the wing and felt into place. So first of all I'll position the wings onto the body and attach them into place using sewing pins. So here's things from a new angle. What I'm about to do here is attach the head scales around the head using the sewing pins. There isn't a lot of footage of me attaching everything because most of it ended up being the back of my head. Here's the back of the Dragonache with the scales running down the back, also attached with pins. Here I'm cheating a bit by using a felting machine to make sure that everything is firmly felted into place. After bribing out my Dragonache with some candy, it finally let me finish off its tail. I'll attach the tail scales into place using this yellow wool. Make sure the scales are firmly in place by giving them a gentle tug. And using the pins again, we're going to position the arms onto the front of the Dragonache. Once you're happy with the positioning of the arms, just simply felt them into place. If the bottom of the arms are a little loose or a bit too soft, simply felt a thick layer of yellow wool around the bottom. This will give it some extra firmness. You'll also need to felt a pink band onto the bottom of each one when you're done. Finally, just give him some extra touch-ups in areas you feel that he needs it, and he's finally ready for his close-up. Time to celebrate.
It's party time!
And that's the end of the video. Please subscribe or I'll send my Dragonash after you. Big shout out to Rare, the creators of Viva Pinata. Please make a sequel someday. And if you'd like to see me make another needle felted pinata, please let me know in the comments, otherwise I'll see you all in the next video.